Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Liza and I'm a certified health coach. Did you know that how well you sleep at night can be determined by what you do in the morning? In today's video, I'll be going over all the factors that go into getting a good night of sleep. So let's get into it. If you feel wired at night, super tired in the morning, hungry late at night, or super dependent on caffeine, the problem might have to do with your lighting environment and its effects on your circadian rhythm. Now, maybe you've never heard of circadian rhythm or you're just not quite sure what it is, so let me explain. Your circadian rhythm is a 24-hour biological clock that is synced up with the sun. It governs not only your sleep, but also your energy, mood, metabolism, hormones, immunity, and even expression of genes. Your cells and organs are time-stamped to know exactly when to repair things, to detox, to rest, and to grow. It's almost like they're clocking into work, literally. So there are certain times that your stomach will digest best, or other times it'll be offline. There's gonna be a time when your brain is more alert, and then also a time when your body heals and repairs the best. This system is so precise and beautifully designed by God to align you with the rhythms of nature to experience true health. Nature has light and dark cycles that it follows, and we used to be super in tune with this because back in the day, a ton of people used to work outside, and then once it became dark, they came inside and rested and went to bed pretty much right after nightfall. But now today, with obviously electricity and different types of shift workers, that has definitely gotten more out of tune, and we've gotten out of sync with the light and dark cycles for sure. Your circadian rhythm really thrives on contrast, and it actually needs it to be able to do its job well. So think not only light and dark, but also hot and cold as well, which I'll touch more on later in this video. Without this contrast, your circadian rhythm gets really dysregulated and the timing gets off, which results in a loss of control of the different functions that it's in charge of and the repair and regeneration that the system provides to your body as a whole. It's really important that you get full spectrum sunlight during the day and get outside as much as possible, and then once it becomes dark, you want to keep your environment pretty dark as well. So two specific hormones that are regulated by your circadian rhythm are cortisol and melatonin, which cortisol is most commonly known as your stress hormone, but it's actually secreted naturally by your body just every morning to wake you up. And that kind of gives you a surge of energy. So that happens once in the morning. And then also there's a surge that happens midday as well to kind of keep you alert and awake. And then melatonin, on the other hand, is a hormone that gets excreted or should get excreted at nighttime. This helps your body get more sleepy, and it starts the repair process for your body as well. It's also in charge of immune repair, tissue surveillance, mitochondrial cleanup, and antioxidant defense. And when levels of melatonin are low, these repair jobs can get delayed or even skipped entirely. A really quick side note on night owls. I know a lot of people think that they are night owls. I've had this discussion many times with my husband actually. And while yes, it technically exists, I would say it's more of an adaptation versus just kind of like a personality thing, because biologically we all have circadian rhythms. We all have these clocks inside of us that are running on the same time. They're running on the sun, so light and dark cycles. And what can happen is when your circadian rhythm gets super dysregulated, whether of course if you're working, second shift or something like that, or you just, spend a lot of time with the lights on after dark, whether you're watching TV, you have LED lights on, you're on your phone a ton, you're drinking maybe energy drinks later in the afternoon that keeps you up later, or you're eating super big meals after nightfall. These are all factors that can go into your body having to adapt to you being up later than it is normally used to, and then you will find yourself actually being more awake when you should be sleeping. So then people assume that they're just night owls, but actually it's really just a maladaptation to a dysregulated nervous system, because your body is always adapting, which is a really great thing and you want it to be able to do that. But just because night owls may be more common in our society today does not mean that it's normal for our biology. If you were to implement some of these routines that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later, you would actually find yourself, if you're a night owl, becoming sleepier, earlier in the night, and then actually being able to sleep better. So it's just really all about your lighting environment and the signals that you give your body. Another reason for maybe why you're more wired at night too can be stemming from chronic stress, because when you're chronically stressed, your body is pumping out cortisol all the time instead of during its normal time frame of about 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because that's when your adrenals, which pump out cortisol, are most active. So if you're just chronically stressed all the time and you're in fight or flight because your nervous system is like, hey, there's some type of danger present, your bloodstream is going to be constantly flooded with cortisol. And even at nighttime, when cortisol should be dipping lower and melatonin should be rising, now you have cortisol still at a really high level. And so you might find yourself being really wired. You might, your body might be tired and you're laying in bed, but your mind is just racing. That would be another explanation as well for why you're feeling wired at night. So like I said at the very beginning of this video, what you do in the morning can actually have an impact on how well you sleep at night. So let's go over some morning routine ideas that will help you experience a deeper and more restful sleep. First thing you can start out with is getting an alarm clock that mimics sunrise. So I know there's some super expensive brands out there. If that's your thing, go for it. But I just got mine off of Amazon. I think it was like $20. There are so many different options out there. So just find one that is best suited for you. But the one that I have specifically, I can link it down below. You can just see if it's good for you or not. But instead of jolting you awake with a really loud sound, you can actually be gradually woken up by light that is gradually increasing. There's timers from 10 to 60 minutes of how bright the light will get, and then there's also different light intensities. So if you want it to stay relatively low light, you can do that, or if you want it to be brighter to help wake you up, you can also do that. But it will always start as a dark orange color and then slowly get more bright because it's mimicking how the sun comes up over the horizon slowly. And that's how our ancestors used to wake up too. So you're trying to just align yourself to the sun and the rhythm that it follows as well in nature. So for me, I usually do the light starting 10 minutes before my alarm clock. If I'm getting up at 6:30, it will come on at 6:20, and then it will actually play a relaxing sound, although the annoying alarm clock sound is on there if you really needed that, if you're a super deep sleeper. But there's different sounds that will go off at your designated alarm time, such as there's 2 different piano songs, I believe, birds chirping, waves crashing, rain, just very much peaceful noises to wake up to. And this is just going to help you start your day off in a much better mood and not be jolted awake. Next thing you want to do is not grab your phone right away. Not only is that going to spike your cortisol way too high for what it should be in the morning, which means it will be followed by a crash later in the day, but it's also going to overwhelm you with a ton of notifications and expose you to a ton of isolated blue light, which is just going to further push off your melatonin levels, ramping up at nighttime. But instead of going on your phone, you can actually go outside, whether it's just on, a patio or out in your backyard or front door, or even going for a walk. If you can do that, this is going to be really helpful for getting just morning sunlight on your skin and your eyes. Again, you're not looking at the sun, but you're just being outside in the daylight is going to be so beneficial for setting your circadian rhythm in tune with your body and with nature, which will help all of your tissues and organs that are governed by the circadian clock be able to do its job that it needs to do. And then you're also helping the correct melatonin levels be pumped out at the right time at night as well. So super important to be doing that. Another note on cortisol getting artificially raised with things like looking at your phone right away in the morning, it will actually have a cascading effect on other hormones as well, such as estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and DHEA. Mitochondrial stress can arise from these dysregulations, and as the pattern or habit begins to form day in and day out, your hormones can start to get seriously dysregulated, which causes a whole host of problems that can be seen throughout your body and with different symptoms as well and health conditions. So getting outside in the UV light right away in the morning will help set your circadian rhythm and balance your hormones. So let's dive a little bit deeper into blue light exposure and its impacts on melatonin specifically. So blue light is part of the visible light spectrum that is emitted between 380 to 500 nanometers. This is seen in things like digital devices, LED light bulbs, and even the sun has it as well, which in conjunction with the other colors like found in sunlight, for example, this can actually be really helpful. And during the day, it helps to regulate your circadian rhythm, boosts alertness, improves your mood, and enhances cognition. But at night, it's going to disrupt your circadian rhythm, messes with your sleep, and suppresses melatonin levels. You want to avoid blue light after dark as much as possible because the short wavelength of blue light that it emits disrupts sleep, as shorter isolated wavelengths communicate to your brain that it's daytime and not night. And this is really confusing to your brain, and that can lead you to feeling really awake when you actually should be tired. There's a really fascinating study done that looked at late night light exposure and it being a risk factor for type 2 diabetes, and they found that when you have late night light exposure, it's linked to increased blood sugar, weight gain, and metabolic dysfunction, all without even eating food. So that just goes to show you how much of an impact your lighting environment can have on your body. Another term to be familiar with that also plays a role in all of this is lux. Lux is basically just light intensity, and so this is something to keep in mind when you are having maybe only lamps on after nightfall, because some warm bulbs can actually be super bright still. They might be emitting a lux of 800 to 1000, which is still going to be signaling to your brain that it's daytime, which can be confusing again at night when you should be, winding down and getting tired. So an ideal lux would be around 10, but again, you just want to keep it dim after sunset. That's kind of just a good goal to have. If you want to get more technical with it, there's a really cool app called My Circadian. There's a ton of awesome features on there. It'll show you, the UV. It'll show you when daybreak is, then sunrise, when you can get UVA, UVB, and then it also shows sunset and nightfall. So because those times are going to be changing throughout the year just due to seasons, and daylight savings times, things like that, it's really helpful to look at and try to plan your routines around and be like, okay, like maybe this is what time I should be getting up now versus this is what time I should be trying to wind down for the night. But they also have a lux meter on there. So it will just use the camera on your phone. You can go outside, and if you point your camera at the sun, it'll show you how much lux it's emitting, which usually it's like 20,000 lux, which is just like insane. That shows you how bright it is, right? You can also do it in your inside home environment, like if you have the lamps on, for example, or candles, whatever it is, and just check and be like, okay, like this is, pretty dim. This is signaling to my brain that it's actually nighttime. Another thing to keep in mind too is that your skin is also a light sensing organ. And so when you're, if you're watching a movie at night or something and maybe you have your blue light blockers on, you also want to try to cover up your skin if possible, whether you're wearing long sleeves or you have a blanket over you or something, because your skin can also relay the message that the light is sending into your body to tell your brain that it's still daytime. So it's something to just keep in mind there as well. Also, speaking of lux and red light panels, actually, those can be a really great tool for healing for sure, definitely down to the cellular level and mitochondria as well. But you want to try to keep the use of those during the daytime because of the high lux that they emit. It's just super bright, and you don't want to be doing that at nighttime when you're trying to wind down and your brain's getting the signal that it's still daytime. So just try to limit that use to during the daytime when it would also be a higher lux outside. Something else that you can do is using the same alarm clock that I talked about. They actually have a sunset function as well. So it will start out as a light orange color, and then it will slowly get darker and dim, and you can set it for a timer for however long you want it to last. They have a range of noises you can listen to. Like I really like the crickets. Might actually only be the crickets. I could be wrong on that, but just something to look into. That's also a helpful way to signal to your brain that it is time to wind down for the day. Also, just a quick note on melatonin supplements. I don't like to recommend them to people because it can signal to your body that, hey, we have melatonin in our system. You guys don't need to worry about making melatonin anymore. And then you can just become super dependent on it and have to, maybe increase your dose to even get sleepy in the first place. But I think you should just really work on prioritizing your body making the melatonin, and there are other hacks that I'll share a little bit later that can actually help you feel sleepy if that's what you're struggling with. But the main way that your body makes melatonin is through your pineal gland, and this will release it once it's dark outside or it perceives darkness. So let's say you only have, candles lit or a fire going or lamps on with incandescent bulbs. Like those are all gonna be signals that it's nighttime and we're winding down, and then it'll release melatonin. Versus if you have big overhead lights on or the TV blaring or you're like staring at your phone screen with the blue light, those are all going to suppress melatonin production because your pineal gland is gonna be getting the signal like, hey, hold off on melatonin, it's still the middle of the day. We don't wanna be sleepy yet, so just hold off on that. So that's really important to your pineal gland be able to actually produce melatonin and release it as well. Something else that goes along with sleep is if you happen to wake up during the middle of the night. This will happen to me sometimes. It was consistently happening around 2 to 3 a.m. And what's really cool is the traditional Chinese medicine standpoint on this. So like I had mentioned in an earlier video, there is such a thing as an organ clock, and Chinese medicine practitioners believe that your organs have a specific time of day that they're most active, which definitely aligns with your circadian rhythm as well, because if everything in your body is governed by clocks, there's going to be a specific time that it's going to be most active versus when it's resting more. So between the hours of 1 and 3 are actually a time when your liver is most active, and your liver uses converted glucose, which are carbs, to turn it into glycogen, which is then its main source of fuel to do all of its jobs, and especially detoxing. And sometimes what can happen is your liver can get sluggish, whether that's from toxins in your environment or just eating a poor diet or drinking a ton of alcohol. It's just going to get kind of backed up, and it can actually wake you up in the middle of the night. Another thing that can happen is, like I was saying with the glycogen, how glycogen is your main source of fuel for the liver. It might actually run out and fuel sources get low. So it's waking you up to be like, hey, I need something to eat. Like, I need more power to do my job. So something that can actually help this is, before you go to bed, having a carb paired with a protein, such as any type of dairy product, like a warm glass of milk with collagen, which I'll talk about why collagen is really good later. Some slices of cheese with crackers, like something just light, but just to give your body a little bit more fuel to help your liver be able to do its job. Another organ that could be waking you up is between 3 and 5 is when your lungs are most active. And let's say you're sick and you have like a really bad cough or something, you might be waking up in the middle of the night, like between those hours, coughing. Because your lungs are most active during that time, they're actually trying to do their job of detoxing and repairing your body, and so it's trying to expel toxins, and so that could just be one reason why you're waking up in between that time. Another reason that you might be waking up in the middle of the night and getting fragmented sleep is due to body temperature. If the room you're sleeping in is super warm, or maybe you have a ton of blankets or something, or you're just wearing a ton of layers yourself, that can actually be contributing to fragmented sleep, because your body actually likes to sleep at a really cold temperature, which I will get into in this next section here of why that's so important. So now let's kind of go over some evening routines that can help your body to wind down, and different sleep hygiene practices that you can incorporate to sleep better at night. You want to have your room near pitch black. It doesn't have to be perfect, because you think about our ancestors and they were sleeping outside. They were definitely sleeping under moonlight or starlight, so again, it doesn't have to be perfectly pitch black. But, if you wanted to invest in things like blackout curtains, the biggest thing is going to be those little indicator lights that are on different devices, whether it's maybe chargers or power cords, on air purifiers, AC units. Those are all going to be things that are in the melanopsin sensitivity range, and so that's going to be kind of keeping your body and brain a little bit awake, and so you don't go into as deep of a sleep. And these also suppress melatonin, so you're just not going to be experiencing as deep a sleep. Getting things like red or opaque tape. I remember even using like a folded up sticky note and taped it onto the power cord that was giving off a big light, and that helped a ton. Or putting something over your alarm clock to help keep the room near pitch black is actually going to be really beneficial. You want to avoid eating large meals after nightfall. This is because your digestion and your metabolism really slow down after nightfall, because your body is now trying to turn gears towards the rest and repair and detox part of its functions, instead of focusing on digesting and incorporating food into your body. So you just want to avoid really big meals, because you won't be able to process them as well. Your body's going to have to put a pause on all of the repairing that it was about to do, and that also is going to have cascading health effects. You want to turn off big lights, and you want to incorporate incandescent bulbs. I just replaced them all in our lamps. I didn't do it in every single light in our house. It's obviously going to be a much cheaper version to do that. There is a brand that sells light bulbs that have 3 different settings on them. So one is for daytime, still a warm color, and then it'll have a sunset mode, which will be like a dark amber color, and then once it's at night, it'll be like a darker red. So that's also helpful, but again, that's going to be way more expensive, and obviously most people just like to do it in their bathrooms. Like if you just wanted to buy 3 bulbs or something like that. You can also get like amber colored night lights or something for either like your kids' rooms or your bathrooms. I still need to get on that. I have like an LED one, and it is not the best, but we did something in our bathroom. You can also have red light bulbs as well. You can get those pretty cheaply, and then you can also light candles. Sometimes my husband and I do that for supper when it's like super dark out. You can also light a fire too. That's a really cozy way. The light that it emits is really good to wind you down as well. And of course, using blue light blockers. And sleeping in a cold environment. Ideally, the temperature would be between 60 to 68, but that's just going to depend on the season and also just your personal preference, but you do want it to be colder. Because temperature is a circadian signal, having this contrast of a cold room will help your sleep to be deep and consistent. Our bodies are designed to cool down at night, and it's another signal to help tell your brain and body that it's time to go to sleep. This drop in temperature also actually helps melatonin to be released, and it can play a role in your sleep and wake cycle. So this means you'll be experiencing deeper sleep and sleeping longer throughout the night as well, and waking up way less. It will also contribute to you having more energy in the morning, a more stable mood, and being more alert as well. When the room is too warm, your body doesn't reach that threshold that it wants to be able to experience deeper sleep, and so you're gonna have more fragmented sleep, waking up more. You might actually experience really stressful dreams, and then as a result, you can wake up feeling groggy in the morning, experience afternoon fatigue, have trouble concentrating, and even experience mood swings. This is because your temperature rhythm is tied to the systems in your body that control energy, focus, and emotional stability. One tip to help cool you down if for some reason you can't change the thermostat wherever you're staying is just to stick one foot out whenever you feel hot, because there are a ton of blood vessel loops in your feet, and that will help to actually release a ton of heat really quickly. So just keep that in mind whenever you find yourself getting super hot at night. Another tip would be to try to turn off your phone or not be on devices for roughly 2 hours before you go to bed. You can start experimenting with even just 30 minutes before bed, because I know it's super common to watch a show or a movie before you go to bed, or just be on your phone talking with people, but it's gonna just be super helpful in a ton of different ways. One, you're not gonna be as wired because you're not constantly inputting things into your mind and your body, but also it helps to just give time for melatonin to build up in your system, because remember, whenever you're exposed to blue light, that's sending a signal to your brain to not send out melatonin yet, because it still thinks that it's daytime. And if you want, you can try sleeping with your phone outside of the room. That's going to be super helpful, and give your phone a break as well. You can turn it off, especially if you're using an alarm clock like the one I mentioned, and this will just help with not being on your phone, of course, but also not checking it first thing in the morning as well. If that's something that you want to get better at, for sure, that definitely helps. That's what I do in the morning, and try to avoid being on it first thing in the morning. Other good things to do at night would be journaling or reading. These are just very stress relieving activities and can really help signal to your brain that it's time to wind down. You can drink a non-caffeinated tea such as chamomile, which has a really relaxing effect to help calm your mind and body. Collagen can also be super helpful for experiencing deep sleep because of its glycine content. Glycine is a huge component of collagen, and it improves sleep by activating NMDA receptors on your SCN, which is the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your brain, which this is like the big controller and regulator of your circadian rhythm. It also helps to lower your core temperature, which, as I just finished talking about, you want to be cooler when you're sleeping. This is also going to help you experience deeper sleep. So collagen is definitely a great thing to consume before going to bed. You can definitely add it to warm milk before you go to bed to have kind of as like a nightcap, and that'll just be super beneficial for your body, because like I said earlier, milk, because it's dairy, is going to have carbs and protein in it, so that'll help if you're waking up in the middle of the night because of your liver or something needing more glycogen, and also with the collagen in there for the effects that I just described. You could also do legs up on the wall, so you like lay down either on your bed and put your legs up on the wall, so you kind of make an L shape, or just on the floor with your legs up there, and you can do that for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes is usually good. This just helps to kind of reset your nervous system, help calm you down. It can actually relieve any tension throughout your body, especially knee pain, and it increases circulation as well. You could do a type of face mask, like raw honey face mask is really good, or any other type of just, self-care, massage, something like that. You could read a devotion or your Bible, or just spend some time praying too before bed. That's super relaxing. Another more natural alternative to a melatonin supplement would be using magnesium lotion. I like to use this one from Earthly. They have a lavender and a lavender-free version. I just don't like the smell of lavender, but it is definitely a calming essential oil that you can use to further boost the effects of magnesium to help just relax your entire body and help get you more sleepy for bedtime. So I usually like to rub that on the soles of my feet and then put socks on, just because it's a little bit greasy, but you can rub it really anywhere you want. And you could also use a homemade magnesium spray too. That'll get saturated obviously a lot quicker and won't be greasy. You can use the alarm clock that I mentioned earlier with the sunset option to help wind you down, eat a bedtime snack, and also just try to go to bed at the same time every night, because having that routine is really going to send a good signal to your brain that is going to align you more with your circadian rhythm of like, okay, every night at around 8:30 she starts winding down for bed. This is good. Like, we have a schedule here. Obviously it's not gonna be perfect, and some nights you're out late with friends or you wanted to watch a movie or something, but just trying to be more consistent with it is really going to help your body regulate your sleeping patterns and your circadian rhythm as well. That is all I have for you guys. I hope you learned something new. If you are going to try any of these routines out, definitely let me know. I would love to cheer you on, And if you are super confused about anything circadian rhythm or just how to get your sleep schedule more on track and you need help or accountability, I would love to be there for you. You can click the link in the description below. You can schedule a free discovery call. You can work with me from anywhere from 1 to 6 months, and I'll just help dial in any health habits that you want to incorporate and you just need a little bit of help or understanding about it. I would love to be that person for you. So just reach out to me and I would love to chat with you more. But that's all for now, guys. I'll see you in the next video where we're talking all things stress. See ya!